Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad and Ray are here after a, would you call that an exciting win last night, Ray? Because I have to be honest. 7 seconds to go, they call a penalty. We needed to eat in our house, and I do most of the cooking, so I'm like, that's just the referees sticking it to us, right? It's just a twist in the knife in the back. So I turned the game off and went to make dinner. And then I get a text from Ray that goes, Aho hat trick. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Until I saw the replay. So that's how my night went. I did get the new radio put in the car.
Oh, good.
Which I thought was a good sign. And apparently it was. I was 24 seconds short.
You know what, Brad? That game yesterday was so confusing. Normally, I would be, elated about the goal with 0.3 seconds left, and then Aho just pyloning TDA and scoring the game winner for the hat trick, no less.
Yeah,
again. But he's not a superstar, right?
Anybody can make that move, Ray.
But exactly. I was so frustrated with so many aspects of it. Like, and Rod after the game says, yeah, we kind of stopped doing what we were doing in the first period, which got them a 2-0 lead. They stopped doing what they were doing to get the lead from the middle of the second period, I'd say, on for the rest of the game until the final 10 seconds. And don't even get me started on the refs. Look, I don't normally, should we save that for when we get into the details of the game? I just, like I said, I was very confused about how I should feel. We'll save that for later.
I agree. And let's jump into it, right? Because we were going to talk schedule games in general since we last recorded, but it's Philadelphia. You go up 2-0, which is what you should do against Philadelphia. They're the 27th team in the league in standings. And then you just, I don't know. And, there are people who keep saying it's just puck luck and they just got to keep working. And there's people who are like, no, we're missing this, or this is happening. And there are people who are, rose-colored glasses. Forwards got to score. At some point, your forwards have to score. And thank goodness, when I saw the replay, on the sport, I always try and watch the Sportsnet replays. I like those better than the official NHL ones. And Aho gets the puck, and it was like the Calgary game from the other year. It's like Aho just decided to win the game. You can just see he's like, I'm ready to go home. And it's the same move against TA as when TA was with the Rangers. And he just completely undressed him. And the best part about it is, over the last, up until the trade deadline in particular, you had a subset of fans going, we need to bring TA back. And you're like, why? Like, he's terrible defensively, and maybe he helps the power play, but that's it. You can't trust him. Oh no, he's better than Burns defensively. TA is the answer. Yeah. Aho showed you exactly why TA is not the answer. Because watch Burns in that situation and watch TA. TA got beat by the same move. It was funny. Don't get me wrong, but
I'm sorry. There is not in any aspect is TA better than Burnsy. He just isn't. He just isn't. That I don't know. And there's just no way he's better than Burnsy. Burnsy has been outstanding, and he's fast enough to make up for his own mistakes.
And he's learning. That's the big thing. He's getting better every week.
Yeah, every week he's getting better.
And on the Marty Necas goal to tie the thing, he gets the assist, which makes him franchise record for points in a season by defenseman. Congrats, Burnsy. I didn't realize he was that high. I should have. He's like fourth on the team in scoring. I should have realized it was that high, but he's been phenomenal for the Hurricanes. What a pickup for nothing.
Amazing. And he keeps going. Let's talk about the game. Look, I don't normally like to crack on the officials because I think it's a weak excuse in most cases. But I looked at the penalties called against the Hurricanes, and there were 4 until the final 7 seconds. They did not call a penalty against Philly until the final 7 seconds of the game when it was literally meaningless. Well, sorry, when it was meaningless, it wasn't literally.
It seemed literally meaningless.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for correcting me because it actually did make a difference. But the problem was Freddie Anderson was run. Okay.
Oh, I know. When I texted you about it, I was livid.
He skated right through Freddie. Where is the protection of the goaltenders? Nothing. Okay. Then we get Puljujarvi in the corner, not only getting boarded, cross-checked in the numbers, but an extra punch to the face just for fun, right? Nothing. No roughing, no boarding, no cross-checking, no anything. Jarvis trying to break in on the wing, completely and utterly hogtied. And that's like grabbed and wrestled to the ground like he was like the guy was steer wrestling or something. Nothing. And the whole time I'm saying to myself, like, you know what? At some point, you've got to say there's something going on. Like I made the tweet and joke that clearly one or both of the officials in the game owed someone money in Philadelphia to just ignore those calls completely. And then to call the one with 7 seconds left. If they didn't call all those other ones, I can understand the Philly fans being, pardon my language.
I'll have to beep that.
Yeah, I can understand the Philly fans being upset because they didn't call anything all game and they chose to pick that one.
That's why I decided that was the right time to cook dinner, because I was like, you're not going to call any of those other things. You're going to call this with 7 seconds to go in the game, which in 90, not even 9 out of 100, 999 out of 1,000 instances will have no bearing on the game.
Yeah.
None. And
You're
that's
right.
the one you're going to call. But here's my question. I don't like to blame the officials for last. I always say, put yourself in a position where the officiating doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the officiating's just gotten so bad. And it's not like it's not Hurricane specific. So I don't want to say this. It's not conspiracy theory. It's not what does the league have against the Canes, although there's certainly documentary evidence that would support that other puck possession teams don't take the penalties we take. We're the outlier. But every single game, there's a couple of just horrific calls. And I don't like the NBA. I don't watch the NBA. I don't know. It's just, I don't like a team sport where one person can make the difference between, making the playoffs and being a champion. But at least my understanding is that their officials are held accountable and have to answer to, why did you make that call? Like what, like walk us through the process. Why? Because I definitely want to ask last night, like, you didn't call the Ron Anderson. You didn't call the stuff, like you said, on Puljujarvi, Seth, like, with 7 seconds to go, it felt like to me, like the referee's like, oh man, there's 7 seconds to go in the game. We better call, or Rod's going to, complain to the league, rightfully so, about a third instance of the Hurricanes not getting a power play. We better call something. Oh, there's something. I'll call that. Yeah. And it happened to work out in the Canes' fate. You know what I mean? And I know they're conspiratorial, but I don't understand how bad it is. Like, I don't know how a professional league has officiating that is consistently so bad. And I get it. The game is faster. It's heavier, like shots, everything is sped up, right? I mean, gosh, I remember, and you remember when there was one referee on the ice.
Yeah.
And that was worse, because as soon as that guy heads down the ice, whatever happened behind the play was a free-for-all.
Didn't happen, yeah.
But at some point, there has to be a referee in a booth that's just watching the game on a screen who's like, nope, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. Simplify the rule book. Don't call anything ticky-tack, or let the booth guy overrule it. Like, not like that's a ticky-tack. Like, we're not, just drop the puck. We're not dealing with that.
There's got to be a way.
It was brutal. I mean, all in all, you should handle Philadelphia. The good news is the Hurricanes are the Hurricanes. So against Philadelphia, they go up to a 2-0 lead and then, give it away. Against Toronto, they did not play a good game. I mean,
never in it. Although you hear a lot of people say, well, I don't know, they had a lot of good chances and stuff, and Samsonov was good. And there's no question Samsonov played well. He made some big saves, but that was not a Hurricane game. There was something off, and I don't know what it was, but it was frustrating as heck. And it, at that point, after the Toronto game, we had one win in 4 games and shut out twice. You know what I mean? Like there was like, I don't want to say panic button, but there were issues, and the boys will have to fight through it. And this is the gauntlet that we were talking about. Murderers Row, March, I guess, because we've got unbelievable tests coming. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
We've got we get to, reunite the fire that's between the Rags and us. And you're going to throw Toronto in on a hockey night in Canada Saturday night, which is great. And then, just for good measure, we'll throw Boston in as well, which is going to be
at 5 on Sunday, so less than 24 hours after the Leafs game.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And if you look at the month, I mean, we're looking forward. March 1st, you lose to Vegas, a playoff team. Yep. Then you beat Arizona, who's not. Then you luckily beat Tampa Bay, who is a playoff team.
Yeah.
You beat the Habs, who are not, in a shootout. You beat Philly, who's not. You lose to Vegas, who is. You lose to New Jersey, who is. You lose to Winnipeg, who.
Nope, we beat Winnipeg.
Nope, but they are. Well, they're in wild card 2, so okay, I guess that technically counts as beating a playoff team. You lose to Toronto. You beat Philly. So out of 10 games, you have 2 wins against playoff teams, and you have 4 wins. You have 4 wins against non-playoff teams. So it doesn't look bad until you start looking at the level of competition. And then, like you said, I mean, you got Rangers back to back, right? 21st, 23rd.
Oof.
Is there any chance we don't have somebody come out of one of those games with an injury? I mean, I'm just being honest about Trouba and his play style, and are they going to try and like, okay, Svechnikov is out. What can we do before the playoffs to make sure that the Hurricanes aren't? I mean, I don't think that's conspiratorial. I think that's the way that Trouba plays the game, is who can I take out to make our life easier? I mean, that's just he's a predatory hitter. He looks for the, I'm going to cause some serious pain. It's not even taking a guy out of the play. He just wants to hurt someone. That's kind of how he's wired. And, I mean, it's going to be. We know the league's not going to do anything about it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's open season. I hope the Canes keep their heads up. Don't skate with your head down.
Yeah, not ever.
You're not going to get the call.
It's going to be tough going for sure. I gave some thought to the situation that the Hurricanes find themselves in, and wrote an article. It was after the Svechnikov injury, and I wanted to kind of go back to it and I'll ask a question out of it. Okay. So the article that I wrote essentially was a statement that, yes, this is terrible. Yes, we need Svechnikov. However, the Hurricanes have been in this situation before, and oddly enough, it was the situation we were in 2005 and 2006, when a power forward for our squad was taken out by an injury, and was lost for the rest of the season, minus the very last 2 games, which, I mean, it was great to have Cole back, but he wasn't a major factor in those last 2 games. He had to be careful. Neck injury he was in. Him being back in the lineup was emotional more than it was physical. I'll say that. He didn't play weakly, but he wasn't Eric Cole either.
Mhm.
And that injury shortened his career, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. But the team managed to win it all. And there are a lot of things that were unique that relate from back then to now. For instance, a rookie goaltender was called upon in the playoffs in 2005, 2006, and actually helped win it all. We have a rookie goaltender who may be called upon if the injury situation continues on. So there's a little similarity there. Of course, the power forward injury between Cole and Svechnikov, that's the same. But the really big thing that was the same was Rod Brindamore was the captain of the team, and he kind of set the tone in 2005, 2006 team all on his own. I mean, he had help because there were other leaders on the team, guys like Waite, guys like Recchi that were brought in, the hardened, seasoned veterans that you need. But it was Rod that was huge in all of that final in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And who do we have as our coach with the same culture, with the same everything that we need? So maybe, and it's Pollyanna of me to think, we can still win this all. It is a stretch, but the pieces are in place. And I'm not ready to throw in the towel on the season yet. But there are a lot of people that have changed their expectations for this team now that we are without Patches, now that we are without Svechnikov. And I'll ask you, and what do you think? Have your expectations changed for this team?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't lose somebody like Svechnikov, who is integral to making the offense go. You don't have a lot of guys who are big hitters and physical guys. Svechnikov is one of those guys who is. You have guys who will mix it up. Jarvis will some. Martin Nook certainly can. Jordan Stahl, when he decides to put a body on somebody, will do so. But Svech is a special talent. And even when he's not producing goals, he's getting assists and he's putting himself in position. And guys, even if it's just the defense has to go, Svechnikov's on the ice, we have to make sure he doesn't get the puck. He's making space. So that's one. Losing Patches is less important only because they did so well without him throughout the year. But that was your deadline deal, right? That was the finisher that we needed to put us over the top. And he's out. And so now you have people keep praising the defense for the amount of points they're putting in, the amount of goals they're scoring, which is fantastic. But we're winning games because the defense is scoring and not that the offense is scoring. In the last 6 weeks, Aho has 8 goals, 3 of which came last night, which means in the previous 6 weeks, he had 5 goals. Kotkaniemi's been doing pretty well. He's got 7. Nate just has 6. Jarvis and Teravainen have 5. Brady has 5. Svech had only 4, but he had 10 assists during that, So before the season, and I said, assuming everybody gets to the playoffs healthy, which would have included Patches, an Eastern Conference Finals bid was a bare minimum for me. You were better than anybody else in the East. Boston came out of nowhere, but I still think in a 7-game series, you beat Boston with everybody healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But without those 2 guys, if the forwards start scoring again, you can win a couple of rounds. maybe you can get to an Eastern Conference final. You get, you catch lightning in a bottle. But my expectation is no longer that they reach the Eastern Conference finals. And will it be a disappointing season generally? Yeah, but that's injuries. That's nothing the team can do about somebody getting hurt.
Right.
But depending on who they play in the first round, I mean, right now, if they face off against, the Islanders or Pittsburgh, they should win the first round series and get to the second.
We're if it ended today, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, if it ended right I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. Which would be phenomenal, right? I mean, that would be great because I'm sorry, I meant to say Pittsburgh and Florida. You should beat either of those teams.
Yeah.
Second round, flip a coin, but getting to the second round, I would say at this point should be the expectation that they should be able to get the second round. If they were to slide and it's Carolina and the Rangers in the first round, you're a better team than they are. But are you a better team that, without Andrei Svechnikov in the lineup? I don't know. And I wouldn't write them off, but if they have to go against the Rangers in the first round, my expectation is probably going to be hope for the best. I'm not going to expect them to beat the Rangers because the Rangers have a lot of firepower and they're going to play, they're going to play dirty hockey. I mean, that's what they do. That's who they are. Yeah. And like I said, I'm very serious. In the next two games, are we going to lose anybody else in injury? If Chatfield goes down again, we saw that third line pair of Gostisbehere and Dahan. It's just not the same. I mean, Chatfield, I think, is more important to that defensive third pairing than anybody else. I think that kid has been solid. Yeah. So my expectations have definitely changed. I think if they can get to the second round and have a good showing, it's a successful season given the personnel who were on the ice. But if they have to play the Rags in the first round, putting up a good fight, is that enough? I don't know. It's if we lost somebody who wasn't as important as Svech, even a scorer, right? I mean,
yeah.
Marty Necas has more points than Svechnikov on the air, but if you ask me between the two of those guys, hey, who would you rather lose? I hate to say it, I'd tell you Marty Necas. Like,
Yeah, well, Svech plays a heavy game, and
right, he's the only one. Space. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Look, what I'll say as far as my expectations and hopes. My expectation, my thought was this season is a failure if we don't make it to the cup final. We don't have to win it all, but we got to be in the cup final. If we don't, it's a failure. I mean, it just is. Now, the only way I call it a failure is if we're bounced in the first round because of the injuries and because of what we lost. However, I still believe this team can go all the way through. As per my article, the pieces are there. They can get it done. And look, and anyone will tell, and here, Brad Marchand, probably the most intelligent thing he's ever said. Where you finish in the standings really is meaningless, because if all you have to do is make the playoffs, and then anything can happen. We've seen it. And so we've got the culture and the attitude that we need. And it's a winning culture, a winning attitude that has faced a lot of difficulties and powered through and done well. So, I believe that they can get through that. It's infinitely harder. You know what I mean? Like it's just infinitely harder, but it's there and it can be done. And the way it can be done, Brad, is because of guys like Bernsey. How about Bernsey?
Phenomenal. The stall line's been off the last month or so. I mean, it's the eye test. I haven't looked up the stats, but they they haven't been as dominant as they were. If those guys get back, if you can get some power play, movement and clicking a little bit, which is hard without. At first, if they play the Rangers, a first round exit would not surprise me.
Right.
But they can beat the Rangers. It's just, I would expect them to beat the Penguins or Florida. By the same token, if they make it to a Stanley Cup Finals, also wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because it's all dependent on, are the forwards going to score? And you said it, we saw it in 2006. Like, they weren't expected to do anything, right? You just get your foot in the door, and you don't know, because every team has the same potential complications. You play the Rangers and one of their top guys or two of their top guys go down, it's a different game. I mean, it's a war of attrition. Who can send the most healthy bodies on the ice to do the most, get the most out of those guys that they can. And that works in your favor as often as it doesn't.
Well,
knock on wood, maybe the Hurricanes, bad karma's done with the Hurricanes for the year between Andre Kasha, Max Pacioretty, and Svechnikov. Right? Maybe karma's going to say, hey, you guys deserve a break.
And if we're being blunt, honest, really, it's the scoring from the defense that has carried us.
Mm-hmm.
It just has, and I think we're the highest scoring defense in the league. I believe number 1 or number 2. I mean, Carlson seems to score 3-4 points every dang night for San Jose. It's unbelievable, but we're getting contributions from everywhere. Shea has been on fire. Burnsy, and again, like. Has he tied, or is he now has he scored the most points of any defenseman for the franchise?
Most points, according to the Canes socials. 52 points this year. Shea has 32. He has 15 goals. I mean, it's phenomenal. Brett Pesce has 22 assists. He has 26 points on the year. Jacob Slavin has 22 points on the year. Jalen Chatfield's had 12. Calvin Hahn snuck in there with 12. The Ghost he's got 5 for us, so
already. Yeah. I mean, he's making contributions. So they're going to have to, carry the load. I mean, we said in the playoffs, you need secondary scoring. Usually when I'm referring to secondary scoring, I'm not referring to my defense, but it's got to come from them. Everyone's going to have to pull on that rope. And if we have to rely on the D scoring the points, then so be it.
See, normally you would say we need secondary scoring. The Hurricanes have secondary scoring just coming out the wazoo.
No,
we need primary scoring. Can we get, I mean, the hat tricks, the Tavo hat trick, the Aho hat tricks, the Svechnikov, those are great. But can we spread those out a little bit,
please? A little more consistency.
Can we spread that out over 3 games? Because that one goal over 3 games probably wins us an extra game in a series.
Exactly. So. No question. It's going to be interesting. Congrats to Burnsy. And speaking about those hat tricks, Aho, or Francis 2.0, as I like to nickname him, was probably, it's definitely the brightest aspect of the Philly game. But man, oh man, that overtime beauty, where as you've put it, there's just times where you see when he's got the puck and he's starting in his end and he's winding up those legs there, and if you got the camera in close on his face, it's determination. He is going to the net and he's going to score, and that's all. There's nothing you can do about it.
He walked D'Angelo like a dog.
Oh my gosh.
He put him on a leash and just pulled him out of the way.
He just totally pyloned him.
If you ever want to see a naked hockey player, watch the video, because Tony D'Angelo gets undressed butt naked.
It was that Aho was just, oh my gosh. And the shot could you bar down or what? Like it was, you
Phenomenal.
couldn't, how he was able to get that off in that one fluid motion. And they went from being, and here's the thing, they went from being a surefire loss to a team they should never lose to this season. And in 28.3 seconds of playing time, they not only tied but won.
Can you imagine the Philly fans? You've had a long season. There's not a lot to be happy
so
about.
Hard. No.
You go down 2-0 in the first. You come back. You're ahead. The penalty was 7 seconds. You boo the ref, but you, in your heart, you just know it's not going to matter. And Marty Nate just gets it from Bernsey. I mean, they were both, he and Aho were right in front of the net. I mean, either of them were like just right there.
Yep.
And they bury it. And you got to know in your heart you're not winning that game. Right then. Right. That's where the dagger was, right there. You went, oh, this is overtime. That's it.
And if you rewind from that about 4 seconds and see the save that Sandstrom made on Gostisbehere, which bullet.
What a heater.
And he swung over and made that save. I was like, oh, well, if you're going to score, that's the only chance he got, right? And then 2.5 seconds later, the puck's in the net. And you're like, what just happened? This is unbelievable to me.
I wish I had recorded in my face when I saw your message, because I was, like I said, I'm cooking, so I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, oh, Ray texted me, like, Ray's probably,
furious
about something. Like, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And it just, I think it just said fishy hat trick. And I'm like, what's he talking about? Like I turned it off like with 7 seconds to go, and I walked downstairs and like, no, they didn't score because, wasn't the face off in the neutral zone? Because I like I said, I was like, oh, it's dinner time. I go, unbelievable. You can't quit on this team because they're not quitting on themselves.
No, that's exactly it.
But the mental aspect of it is going to play a big portion going forward, because you lose Svech. I'm sure everybody's down like, hey, that could be our chance. But it's Rod Brindamore's team, which means that can't be allowed to fester.
Yep.
Get that for a few games, get it out of your system.
Squish it.
The good news is, after the gauntlet, after this 10-day gauntlet that they're going to run through, April's not terrible. I'm not saying it's easy. I don't want to, it's the NHL. It's never easy.
Look,
but at least for April,
again. Yeah.
Right, you got the Habs, the Isles, which,
they're
is a playoff
they're
team.
Still fighting.
You got Ottawa twice, who's trying to get in the wild card spot. You got Nashville, Detroit, Florida, and Buffalo. So you've got teams that are on the edges. Buffalo and Ottawa certainly are fighting for playoff spots. Detroit, I don't think has a chance, but
I'd say forget about Buffalo after today. They were down 7-0 in the third to Boston. I think that game is long done. Like that game was done after the first minute. I'm not sure what the final score was, but I saw that it was 7-0.
Yeah, it's 7-0 final.
And they scored in the first minute of the first period. Like Buffalo is just Jekyll and Hyde.
Right.
There's just
hopefully we get what, Jekyll.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding.
As much as I hate to say it, like I've been a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan this week. They took care of the Devils getting 2 points the other night. They're playing them tonight. If Tampa Bay could do us a solid and hold off the Devils again, that's a big deal.
And think about that. This is where the time came in. It was an interesting. Big Mike shared this on Facebook, and it was perfect, because with a minute left in the third period in the Canes Philly game, it was 2-0 for the Devils over the Lightning. So we were in a spot where in 1 minute, if nothing changes, we're going to be not in first place in the Metro anymore. And instead we extended our lead.
Yeah.
in 1 minute's play, because while we were scoring, 30 seconds apart, 0.3 left in the game, and then 28 seconds into, while we were doing that, the Lightning somehow put 3 goals up and took the lead and totally reversed it. You want to know what NHL is like? That's how quickly things can change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only bad news for us is New Jersey has an easier schedule than ours.
They do.
They have the Wild, but then they have Buffalo, Ottawa, Isles, Rangers. So, those are some moderate games.
Yeah.
Then they have the Blackhawks, the Blue Jackets, the Capitals who are out of it, Buffalo who's likely out of it.
Oof.
So in that last month, of their 7 games, only 3 of them are, Winnipeg, Pitt, and Boston are things that they might have to sweat. So it's going to be, I think, the Metro. I think whoever wins the Metro, I don't know. I don't think we're going to know until the last day or two. I think it's going to be that tight.
Unless I can't see the Devils falling off a cliff at all. I just
right.
Don't.
Nor do I think the Canes are going to. That's the remarkable.
Yeah, it's dogfight for the rest of the way. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding, but I think they can come through. I think they can come through. And like I said, when we go back to that expectations, we got to win the first round. Even with the injuries, we got to win the first round. After that, we'll just cheer our arses off like we always have and hope for the best. Honestly, that's really what, and rely on what we know, which is Rod's got a good culture base and everyone's digging it. You know what I mean? Like everyone has bought into the system. And you don't have that on a lot of teams. Not every team has a 100% buy-in from the players. Some guys like to take the night off. And I mean, I haven't seen
some guys show up 2 minutes late for a team meeting.
Oh yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Could you believe? Let's talk one more thing about the. I was stunned at the lines that Rod put out for
the old Rod Blendamore.
Holy cow. He even messed with the third line. The only line he didn't mess with was the fourth line.
I think he drew straws, or as the guys came in the locker room, like the way teachers used to in school. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They just go down the row. Like I think, and that's what he did.
That might have been it.
It works.
Yeah.
If it works, it's hard to complain, right? It's weird, but
it got the win, but it was hard to like. Okay, so it was KK, Jarvis, and Fost, and I was looking for the combination there for it to work, and I couldn't see it. And then the fact that Turbo was with Puljujarvi and Stahl, I was thinking to myself, Puljujarvi's a big boy and he can move things around or whatever, and then of course there's the negative that everyone says with Martinook going to the top line. No one wants Marty on the first line, but as I heard one of the announcers labeled him as something that I had never heard previously, and maybe it's been said a number of times and I just hadn't clued in. They called him a puck retriever, and that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You dump the puck in, right, and you suddenly it's Martinook who's got the defender's back turned. You know what I mean? He gets them to turn around, and he gets in there and finds a way to get a piece of the puck, and it was the perfect description of what he does, which is why, in a sense, it should work on the first line. You know what I mean? If he's the puck retriever that he, as he was described quite adequately, he can get that puck out to Natchez and Aho to do some special things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it seemed to work out at the start, but it's not a line that I personally, I just love the third line the way it was,
Yeah.
and I don't mind putting Natchez with Aho because I think they could find some chemistry there. But
I
this is
I think you go for a Finn line, right? You put Aho with Teravainen and Puljujärvi and see what
Ooh.
happens. And because clearly Puljujärvi and Aho had chemistry at the Worlds. Now that's been a long time, and they had Line Aid
Yeah.
with them, and that's not recent, right? I remember when they traded for him, and somebody on Kane's Facebook, I said, "Oh, he'll start at the fourth line and he'll get his chances to move up." And their entire response to me was the word "wrong." It's the only thing they said, "wrong." And I said, "Well, what do you think they're going to do?" Because I'm trying not to be rude. I'm just trying to be
Expand.
friendly.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Did you see Worlds?" And I was a little rude, and I'm like, "You mean like was it 20 to 16 Worlds 7 years ago?" Yes. As a matter of fact, I've seen all those highlights. It was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, do you really think he's going to put Aho and Puljujärvi on the top line from game one? And he didn't.
Immediately.
But he put him in and he moved him up some within,
He did.
and it's like, that's what I expected. Like, but you're not going to just throw him in there and be like, oh, they had connections 7 years ago. It's like they've played in two different systems for 7 years. Like, they do still work out apparently in the summer together, but an all Finn line.
Change, minds change,
right?
Knowledge of the game changes.
Puljujärvi had to spend 7 years in Edmonton, 4 of which he practically was begging to leave. He started saying in 2019 he wanted out. Like, that's makes a difference for a guy. So, but at this point, it's like, why not? Like, give us a Finn line, or if not Teuvo, put Kotkaniemi up there. He's playing center for us, but if you want to mix it up, he's got the big body. He certainly can put points on net. He's developing into a a number 2 center. But if Turbo doesn't have it going, why not have a Finn line? Just give it a shot. See, the only good news last night was with the Finns out there, power plays 100%.
Yeah, true enough, right? That's an interesting suggestion. KK, Aho, and Puljujärvi, because KK has been playing great and it's a heavy game. Puljujärvi plays a heavy game, but he's slower, and that could really.
If KK can get on a forecheck, which gives Puljujärvi a chance to get in there and muck it up.
Yeah.
Then you have Aho and, Burnsy Slavin or Pesci Shea out front. Circling, wait, just looking for a puck, right? Yeah. I wouldn't hate that at all. And honestly, after games like last night with Rod Blindamore, is there any line combination I can give you that wouldn't be any less realistic than what he threw out there?
What he threw out last night was.
Honestly, if I said you do Puljujärvi, Aho, and Burnsy on the first line, you know what? Burns played forward before. He started out as a forward. Like, you know what? Maybe that's not such a bad idea. If the forwards aren't scoring, obviously you don't have a defenseman to replace Burnsy, but if it got right down to it, I'd put Burns out there in a forward line and draw in,
that would be surprising.
Move Chatfield up with Slavin, who he played with excellent.
Yes.
And have Gostisbehere and DeHaan, and you just give them very limited time as best you can. Is it out there a little bit? Sure. Is it the worst idea in the world? It's not, if it works. And that's what I like calling him Rod Blindamore. That's kind of fun. I don't know if I've seen that anywhere yet. I don't want to take credit for it in case like it got into my brain by some other means. But if unless somebody calls me on it, I'm going to assume I made that up. But yeah, it's that time of year. You got injuries, you got to change things, you got to shake things up. I think last night probably was to make the guys uncomfortable, right? Part of getting the guys uncomfortable is getting their heads off of things like, we've lost Svechnikov, we've lost Pacioretty, we're in a tight battle in New Jersey. It's kind of the old drill instructor thing, right? They can't be mad at each other if they're mad at you. Well, they can't be worried about Svechnikov and his problems if they're playing with guys they normally don't play with on a regular line, and they're having to really concentrate on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Bring it back to touch and feel and get their brains to shut off and react, right?
Well, and again, that's what the regular season is for. I mean, he's got time now. He's got 15, 14 games left, I think, before they're finished up, to see if
Less
there's
than that.
see if there's a line that he would be able to call on in a pinch. You know what I mean? In the playoffs and stuff like that. Find out what works and what doesn't. And I mean, if a thin line doesn't work, then so be it. He's got a couple of ways he can do a thin line, so try them all. Like, mix it up, not to the adversity of winning the game. You don't want to get ridiculous, but you need to find out. You need to find out what works.
If you have a game in hand or you're getting blown out, see if it works. Just see what sticks.
Exactly. So. It's an interesting week ahead. 3 games before we get back on. It's the Rangers twice, and then Toronto once again.
I hope I don't have to see you in that hat for your own sake.
Oh, I'm stuck in the hat until my Facebook thing. I'm in that hat until till Friday is when it comes off. And then I might have to have it.
Friday night's the game, though, right?
Saturday. It's Saturday night. It's hockey night in Canada night.
Oh, that's right.
So I'll be able to take it off for one day, in the hopes that I'll be able to see my wife wearing my new Aho jersey. That's what I'm hoping for. The long-standing bet. I sure look pretty angry in that picture, let me tell you. Let's not see that again for the rest of the season, shall we?
And that's a home game, I think. That
is a home game.
Technically, sir, that is hockey night in Carolina.
It is. Technically speaking, yes. Hockey night in Carolina, and it's a night that I'm hoping would be accurately portrayed, to see the Caniacs and Jerks losing their minds and cheering hard and showing again the world in this case being the Hockey Night in Canada viewers, who exactly what is going on in Raleigh and how great it is, and how good the fans are. That's what I want to
start
see.
With the tailgate, lead off with the fans. It's an 8:00 start, and the fans are here at 2 p.m,
ready to go. Yeah, indeed.
Nice.
We need. And what are you want to call or make any predictions for the next 3 games? What's the record going to be coming out of it?
I think they'll go 2-1. I don't know how. I think it might be 2 really ugly wins and maybe an ugly loss, but I feel like they have something to prove.
Yeah.
Especially Toronto, right? Toronto spanked them pretty good, 5-2.
Yeah.
The New York games are always tough, but last year's, round 2 has got to sit on their minds. You don't know, but I just have that gut feeling like this is gut check time and the guys will respond. I think the hardest of the 3 games might be the first Ranger game.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why I'm kind of expecting them to come out flat, but I am.
It's in MSG. It's a tough place to win with a team that's fired up and has lots of offense. We've got the D to handle it, I think, but it's going to be tough. It's always difficult to not have the last line change. You know what I mean? Like, that's
100%. That's we rely on that.
Yeah, exactly. It lets Rod dictate how the game is going to go. So we need good puck control, and we're going to have to be able to adapt on the road. I'd like to see a win in MSG at the very least, to prove to the Rangers you can be beat at home when it comes to this. The Canes are not just strictly home winners. They can win on the road too, and they can win in your barn. So if I'm going to see a 2-1 record, which is what I think, I want to see a win on Tuesday, and I want to see a win on Saturday. I want to see a win every damn night, but you know what I'm saying. So I think 2-1 as well, and I'd sure like to see them beat the Rangers in New York. That
Yeah.
would be nice.
If
That'd
you
be
could
real
if you could
nice.
split the Rangers and beat Toronto, I would feel pretty good about this week.
Yeah.
If it ends up if you were to get points in all 3 games, I would take that equally well, if that makes sense. If you get a minimum of 3 points out of these games, that's almost as good, because you can't worry about New Jersey, right? You can only do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But if you can get going to overtime for these 3 games, that's to me still a win, having Svechnikov out. So
100% it is.
I like it.
It's real. There it is. We've covered it all, man. We missing something?
Go Canes.
Yes, go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.